Commodore's Amiga range was host of some truly fantastic games, but how many of these classics did you experience? After dominating the 8-bit home computer market with the Commodore 64, Commodore was keen to replicate the success going forward. The Amiga 1000 launched in 1985, but wasn't really considered a games machine, mainly due to its high price point, which kept it out of reach of many gamers. The introduction of the budget-based Amiga 500 in 1987 helped bring the Amiga to the wider paying public, which ensured developers quickly start flocking to the system. In October of 1989, Commodore International's David Pleasance put together one of the most popular Amiga bundles of all time. The Batman pack not only featured the titular game, but also included the computer and the modulator. The New Zealand Story, Interceptor and Deluxe Paint 2, all for the staggering low price of $3.99. The Amiga 500's success soon soared, and it became host to a whole array of fantastic games across a wide range of genres, including Sensible World of Soccer, the Chaos Engine, Worms, and many more. Companies like Sensible Software, the Bitmap Brothers, Ocean Software, Cinemaware, and LucasArts would all thrive on the machine, and it ended up becoming one of the best-selling systems in the Amiga range. Numerous systems would follow, including the 500 Plus, 600, 32-bit 1200, and even a console, the CD32, but none of them were ever able to truly match the success of the Amiga 500. Even today, the Amiga 500 is seen by many as the definitive gaming Amiga, although those with their upgraded 1200s would most likely disagree. With that in mind, I've decided to focus on those games that are playable on Commodore's most popular computer. Oh, and I've tried to keep it as balanced as possible to ensure as many different genres are represented as possible, so don't be surprised if the odd classic is missing.
IK Plus.
It may be a part of the classic Commodore 64 game, but Archer McLean's International Karate Plus remains the best one-on-one fighter for Commodore's 16-bit system. Designed around a standard joystick, it features a great array of moves, amazingly fluid combat, and you can drop everyone's trousers by pressing the T key. Unlike virtually all its peers, IK Plus adds a third fighter to the mix, ensuring the bouts are always tense and exciting as you're always kept busy by the challenging AI.
Carrier Command.
Carrier Command caused many jaws to drop upon its release in 1988. It not only delivered astonishing 3D visuals, but had gameplay that was just as state-of-the-art. Effectively 2 games in one thanks to its strategy and action modes, Carrier Command allowed you to commandeer a gigantic robotic aircraft carrier and complete a variety of challenging missions. It's notable for an incredible slick icon-driven UI and immense playing area.
Shadow of the Beast.
While Shadow of the Beast is one of the weakest games in this list, it's nonetheless an incredibly important one, being one of the first to truly push the power of Commodore's 16-bit micro. A sensational haunting score combined with amazing parallax scrolling to create what was essentially a very cool tech demo.
Batman the Movie.
Ocean's Batman was another early system seller and was based on Tim Burton's hit movie. In addition to featuring excellent audio and slick samples, it's most memorable due to the stunning 3D Batmobile and Batwing sections that helped separate the Amiga from its 8-bit peers. The core platforming is fun too, with Batman being able to utilize a useful grappling hook.
Stunt Car Racer.
Geoff Crammond loves racing games, and he loves physics. He combined these two passions to create the insanely fun Stunt Car Racer, a highly enjoyable racing game that takes place on crazy elevated tracks. It's essentially a slightly more serious take on Sega's excellent arcade racer Power Drift, but still remains highly entertaining, particularly when linked up to another Amiga. It remains great fun on your own too, thanks to some challenging AI racers.
It came from the desert.
While Defender of the Crown was a fantastic calling card for cinemaware, it was It Came from the Desert that cemented the company as one of the Amiga's most exciting developers. Inspired by classic B-movies of the 50s, the aim was to protect the town of Lizard Breath from invading giant ants. Killer graphics, a great script, and some entertaining minigames made for a very potent adventure. Before it found success with GTA, the MA design was making entertaining blasters like Blood Money. Inspired by numerous arcade games, it's a truly competent blaster where you can play as a jet, helicopter, submarine or a spaceman, blasting enemies, collecting coins and buying power-ups. Graphically superb with an equally stunning soundtrack.
Populous.
Populous not only put Bullfrog on the map, but also introduced the world to the genius of Peter Molyneux. Free of the hype that would burden his later games, Populous helped popularize the God Sim, allowing you to build up an army of followers using a clever icon-driven interface.
Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge.
It succeeded by two equally good sequels, but purists opt for Gremlin's first game. It's a wonderful arcade racer spread across 32 challenging tracks and 3 difficulty levels. While it's a brilliant single-player experience, the split-screen mode is sublime, allowing for plenty of satisfying competitive racing.
Speedball 2 Burl Deluxe.
Many consider Speedball 2 to be one of the finest sports games of all time, and I'd be hard-pressed to argue with them. This futuristic sports game has you trying to score as many points as possible in 180 seconds. Its tournament mode is superb, but it's the gripping two-player mode that has led to many a broken joystick. Check my full retrospective on the Bitmap Brothers.
The Secret of Monkey Island.
Guybrush Threepwood's quest to become a mighty pirate resulted in one of Lucasfilm's most beloved games and arguably one of the greatest point-and-click adventures ever made. It enhances the Scum engine, is far funnier than Manic Mansion, and is filled with delightful characters, including one of the smarmiest salesmen you're ever likely to meet in a game. It was succeeded by the far superior Monkey Island 2, but the large number of discs that the game required, 11 to the original's 4, means I'm sticking with the original on the Amiga.
Supremacy.
An excellent game by coder David Perry and easily the best space strategy game on the Amiga. There are 4 distinctive alien races to beat, a cluster of planets to seize control of, and a whole variety of ways to take them. It's all tied together by an intuitive control system and daunting 90-page manual.
Midwinter.
Not content with cramming a gigantic game world into the humble Spectrum with Lords of Midnight, Mike Singleton's 16-bit debut was even more ambitious. Set in an apocalyptic future where snow covers the world, Midwinter is full of neat touches, including managing 32 recruits, all with background bios that affect how they interact with other characters, a variety of ways to navigate the world, and injuries to different body parts. It's a little clunky to play nowadays, but its scope is still dazzling.
Pang.
With so many great Amiga conversions, I'm brutally cropping them back to include only the best. One such example is the incredible port of the arcade classic Pang, or Buster Brothers depending on where you live. It's virtually an arcade-perfect port, with the aim of the game being to burst balloons until the playing area is clear. Of course, the bubbles constantly divide, meaning things get hectic very quickly, particularly when a second player gets involved.
F-19 Stealth Fighter.
Yes, it's insanely complicated to get to grips with, but once it all clicks, F-19 becomes the Amiga's best flight sim. Graphically, it's superb, while the varied missions, tense dogfights and excellent physics ensure the gameplay always remains riveting. As with many sims of the time, it's shipped with useful keyboard overlays.
Rainbow Islands.
Virtually every graphed gold conversion of Rainbow Islands was superb, but the Amiga's is one of the best. It contains virtually every aspect of the rainbow flinging platformer, has extremely authentic visuals and wonderfully tight controls. It also does a brilliant job of converting the arcade game's clever scoring system and has a delightfully cheaper soundtrack.
Captive.
It would be easy to dismiss Captive as a futuristic Dungeon Master clone, but that does it a disservice. There are a large number of planets to discover and land on, indoor and outdoor locations, and dangerous monsters to fight.
Wings.
This excellent cinemaware game puts you in the shoes of a trainee biplane pilot during the World War I. It not only features some intense dogfighting and a good array of minigames, but also has a surprisingly poignant story. It was ported to both the Game Boy Advance in 2002 and had an enhanced update created via Kickstarter.
Supercars 2.
The Amiga excelled when it came to top-down racers, but this is easily my favorite. It builds on the original with a great array of weapons and adds a much-needed and brilliant split-screen two-player mode. Graphically, it's been enhanced too, making it one of the slickest-looking racers on the system.
Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker.
A snooker game may sound boring, but McLean certainly wasn't. In addition to featuring stunning graphics, clever coding tricks meant McLean's game was far faster than other examples. It's funny too, with a lovely sense of humor, such as the balls that mock you if you take too long to set up a shot.
Another World.
Many gave up after their encounter with that first cat-like alien, but those that persevered with Chahi's game were treated to an incredibly cinematic experience. The atmosphere throughout is superb, as scientist Lester Knight forms an uneasy alliance with an alien and tries to escape the hostile planet he's found himself on. Its difficulty and abstractness will delight and annoy in equal measure.
Formula 1 Grand Prix.
Even if you're not an F1 fan, it's hard not to be impressed by Geoff Crammond's astonishing racer. Driving assists, incredibly accurate tracks, sensational real-world physics, and the ability to tweak numerous aspects of your car made Crammond's game feel incredibly different to other racers of the time. It looked sensational too, thanks to an amazingly polished 3D engine.
Moonstone, A Hard Day's Night.
This bloody masterpiece never gets enough love. A combination of turn-based and real-time combat with neat RPG mechanics, Mindscape's game has up to 4 players competing as rival knights to retrieve the fabled Moonstone. An excellent adventure enhanced by its over-the-top gore that makes every fight a vicious bloodbath.
Lemmings.
Lemmings don't participate in mass suicide, as it was revealed that Disney's award-winning documentary White Wilderness was faked. Check my history video on Lemmings to know more about that. Even so, the notion stuck, however, and led to this widely clever puzzle game that had you trying to save as many lemmings as possible. While the tunes are delightful, it's the clever level design that makes this game such a joy to play.
Turrican 2, The Final Fight.
Playing like a cross between Metroid and Psychonic's Oscar, Turrican 2 is one of the best run-and-guns on the Amiga, delivering sensational visuals, a stunning score, and hectic gameplay. The 5 worlds are huge in scope, while it features some truly gigantic bosses and a satisfying array of weapons. It appeared on consoles greatly cut down as a movie tie-in for Universal Soldier. Again, check my history video on Turrican 2.
Eye of the Beholder 2, The Legend of Dark Moon.
Westwood had already wowed Amiga owners by improving on Dungeon Master with the original Eye of the Beholder. Here it made both games a decent memory. Greatly improved graphics, densely populated dungeons, and a huge array of terrifying monsters all combined to create a vastly superior sequel. Original Eye of the Beholder owners could carry their party across too, ensuring fantastic continuity for those that loved the original. Great use of the Dungeons & Dragons rules too.
Wizkid.
Whereas Wizball was an unconventional shoot-'em-up, Wizkid is a nutty take on the platform puzzle genre. The player must clear each screen by using Wizkid's disembodied head to knock objects onto enemies. Can you believe it? It's harder than it sounds, but works thanks to its irrelevant sense of humor and excellent controls.
Civilization.
Sid Meier's strategy game had you playing through time itself, building vast empires across a series of important time periods in an attempt to win the Great Space Race. It's not the most accessible of games, but it's arguably the Amiga's best example of the genre.
Pinball Fantasies.
Before it rose to dominance with Battlefield, DICE made a trio of excellent pinball games. The middle child, Pinball Fantasies, is easily the best, thanks to great variety across its 4 tables, exceptionally smooth scrolling, and marvelous physics. They're not as interactive as today's efforts, but it remains an exceptionally well-designed score chaser. Check my full retrospective if you missed it.
Flashback.
Mistaken as a sequel to Another World, Flashback is very much its own game. While Conrad's adventure is just as cinematic, it's more arcade-based than Another World, with a bigger emphasis on platforming and a lovely tribute to the Running Man.
Dune II.
Although not the first RTS, it helped popularize the genre and laid the building blocks for the later Command & Conquer, which was also by Westwood. Initially, you simply harvest the Arrakis for spice, while fighting over the odd attack.
Yes, sir.
Once the other houses arrive, you then start using your spice-powered army to capture your opponents.
Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Acknowledge.
Syndicate.
Only a Peter Molyneux game would have a weapon where you can persuade enemies not to fight you. As you can expect from a Bullfrog production, the gameplay is of an incredibly high standard and has your squad of cyborg agents pulling off complex missions in a stunning isometric environment.
Cannon Fodder.
Clouded by unfair controversy at the time, Sensible Software's game remains a timeless classic. Players must navigate the maze-like stages, taking down enemies with a fragile squad of soldiers. The mouse-driven gameplay is exceptionally intuitive, while it's laced with Sensible Software's warped sense of humor. A sequel followed in 1994, and I like to pretend that the third game never happened.
The Settlers.
This excellent strategy game has you building medieval settlements and fighting off an aggressive AI opponent. As with SimCity, which just missed inclusion, the key placement of buildings and road networks is crucial to the efficiency of your settlement. The Settler stands apart, however, thanks to its military element, allowing you to capture more territory.
Frontier Elite 2.
Frontier was an incredibly ambitious sequel. In addition to being the first game to feature procedurally generated star systems, it offers unparalleled freedom too, thanks to its open-ended and lack of pre-scripted missions. A sequel followed in 1995, but was riddled with bugs.
The Chaos Engine.
This excellent top-down shooter was known in the US as Soldiers of Fortune. Spread across 4 gigantic worlds, it's designed for 2 players, with the computer controlling the AI in a single-player game, and has you seeking out keys while mowing down a never-ending supply of enemies. Again, check my documentary on the Bitmap Brothers.
Ruff and Tumble.
Imagine you could play a game where you completed stages by collecting different colored marbles. Now imagine that you had a range of exotic weaponry and could shoot metallic owls in the face with said weapons. Well, imagine no longer. Simply play this excellent run and gun while marveling at its frenetic gameplay and excellent visuals.
King's Quest 6.
It comes on an eye-watering 10 discs, but this is still the best game in the series for many, myself included. Converted by Revolution Software, this was Sierra's last Amiga game and the first by Jane Jensen. It went out on a high thought, thanks to a great sense of humor, strong script, and numerous endings to discover.
Benefactor.
While it appears to be nothing more than a simple Lemmings clone, Benefactor is anything but. Players control Benefactor, a humble savior who must run around picking up keys and tripping switches so he can guide his merry man to safety. It starts off easy, but later levels soon became insanely difficult and require good dexterity and careful thinking to master.
Beneath a Steel Sky.
Before it found success with Broken Sword, Revolution Software created this gem of a point-and-click adventure. Charles Cecil teamed up with comic book artist Dave Gibbons to create his dystopian take on Australia and made great use of dialogue trees to enhance Sky's bleak atmosphere.
That's really put
Be warned though, as it utilizes 15 discs.
Theme Park.
There are numerous simulation games on the Amiga, but few match Theme Park. Building the park can be a puzzle in itself, as you manage queues, choose key positions for rides, and alter the salt level on your chips to ensure maximum returns. Once the park finally opens, it becomes a frantic juggling act to stay on top.
Mr. Nutz, Hoppin Mad.
Along with Super Frog, this is probably the best platformer on the Amiga. It plays very much like Sonic, and in fact, it's rumored to have started off as a Sonic port, with super fast scrolling and plenty of items to collect. It stands apart, however, due to its strange but oddly compelling adventure-style intros at the beginning of each stage.
Worms.
Like Angry Birds, Worms took a well-established genre, but married it to an insanely cute theme. The end result not only propelled coder Andy Davidson into the limelight, but gave Team 17 its strongest franchise. Perfect. Controlling a group of warring, weapon-trained annelids might not sound fun, but it really is. The ultimate Amiga party game.
UFO Enemy Unknown.
This thoroughly absorbing strategy game from Julian Gollop explains why he is one of the masters of the genre. It subtly builds on all the mechanics he introduced in his earlier 8-bit gems and offers a staggering amount of depth to its combat. It's far superior on later Amiga systems, but I couldn't bear to leave it out. A true classic.
Sensible World of Soccer 95-96 European Championship Edition.
I've chosen the European Championship update as it greatly improved the gameplay and added better menus. It's otherwise sensible soccer, but with greatly refined mechanics and useful additions like star ratings for players and stronger AI. The career mode remains its highlight though, allowing you to manage your team through 20 grueling seasons. And here you have it, 45 games from a huge library that really defined the Amiga 500. And let me also state that many of these aren't by no means my favorite games on the system. You'll find those simply by browsing my channel. It's packed with gaming related memories from that era, where you'll also discover a ton of different lists of personal favorites across a bunch of other distinct systems and genres, from the good old ZX Spectrum days up to the current gen. So if you've enjoyed this video, you know the drill. Thank you very much for watching and I'll catch you all in my next video. Cheers!